Here's a quick recap of today's price action. So coming into the day, although I was higher time frame bullish to this data high, I was short-term bearish to these relative equal lows as well as this 4-hour unmitigated bullish for value gap. What I figured is that if price wants to seek this data high, we are lacking imbalances here to take us higher. Therefore, I want to see price rebalance lower into this area to then continue the higher time frame distribution to our data high. Now, right at market open, as opposed to sweeping sell-side liquidity, we rather add additional targets below. We then manipulate the highs and get a beautiful 1-minute inversion here where we have a ton of low resistance liquidity. I ended up taking a position short right here with my stop loss at the swing high, targeting this intermediate term low, just going for low hanging fruits. And my break-even point was going to be this internal low right here. As you can see, I instantly got stopped out. We also had a SMT at the high. I think we had way more going with us as opposed to against us. The only thing that I can really figure here is that ES didn't really have a reason to distribute at this point in time, given that ES was not inside any high time frame PDA. But with this bearish SMT and with how much we had going with us as opposed to against us, I ended up deciding that this was certainly worth throwing capital on. Also, just extremely unfortunate, you can see that right here is where my break-even point was on ES. So if ES was to take this break-even point, I was going to go break-even. As you can see, we absolutely edged this break-even point and then reversed against my position, stopping me out. Now, shortly after the setup that I ended up taking failed, we ended up getting a 30-second re-entry right here, which I had a lot of people ask me about. First of all, I already took my trade for the day, which was an A+ setup that failed. If an A+ setup is failing, I do not want to continue engaging with the markets. Additionally, there is times where my A+ setup will fail. We then remanipulate into something much more important and then get a much higher probability setup. In this case scenario, this remanipulation giving us the re-entry just doesn't add anything additional to what the setup already was. Therefore, you're really just giving another stab at a setup that already failed. And then as you can see, every re-entry setup got absolutely wrecked, and then we ended up running higher to that data high. So overall, I kind of had the bias right, given that higher time frame bias was higher to our data high, but I had it wrong where I said I wanted to see a rebalance prior to seeing that distribution higher. Overall, beautiful setup, a setup I'll take 10 out of 10 times in live trading and backtesting, whatever. Not mad about this loss whatsoever. Purely statistical, nothing I really could have done. And ES not being in a high time frame PDA just wasn't enough for me to fade this setup entirely. So ending the price action recap there, I know a lot of people took this setup. If you took this setup, do not get mad at yourself. It is purely a statistical loss that unfortunately just did not play out this time. Unless you had a very bullish bias, you should not have been taking this short, but that is really the only exception to fading this setup right here. So I hope you guys learned something from the video, and drop a comment below and let me know how your trading day was.